Welcome to the FI Newscast. I'm Susan Choi. In this episode, we'll dive into aspects of Newstalgia, the desire for new products that evoke memories of the past. But first, let's cover the top stories for this week. First up, new numbers from the Conference Board on its Consumer Confidence Index. The index increased to 110.7 in December, up from a revised 101 in November. According to the board, the numbers reflect an improved outlook in consumers' minds on current business conditions and job prospects. The new mentality was shown across all ages and income levels, but it showed up in particular in households containing people aged 35 to 54 and with incomes upwards of $125,000 a year. When it came to top issues of concern, those surveyed mentioned rising prices, domestic politics, interest rates, and global conflicts. In earnings news, a dim performance by General Mills in its second quarter of fiscal year 2024. The cereal maker decreased in sales by 2% a year ago, a figure that was lower than analysts had expected. The company cited a 4% decline in volume as a major reason for the drop that was partially offset by a 3% rise in price and mix. Chief Executive Jeff Harmening acknowledged the, quote, challenging consumer environment. The company says it expects a slow recovery in numbers and has lowered its outlook to a range of 4 to 5%, down from the previous range of 4 to 6%. The M&A world continues to buzz amidst the acquisition of 𝗟𝗏𝗁𝐵 Coffee Roasters by 𝗂𝗶𝗴𝐻 LLC. The yogurt company bought the Philadelphia-based coffee chain for $900 million. 𝗂𝗶𝗴𝐻 founder and CEO 𝗏𝗡𝐷𝐿 𝗂𝐽𝐝 had already owned a majority stake of 𝗟𝗏𝗁𝐵 shares a few years back and has described this sale as, quote, enormously meaningful. 𝗂𝗶𝗴𝐻 has branched out in its business in recent years, opening a cafe in Manhattan and launching a line of coffee creamers. The struggle continues for grocers and shoppers alike, according to several data firms. Swiftly's annual true cost of a grocery shop showed that more than 53% of customers have adjusted their budgets to afford food. More than 70% prefer to shop in-store. A large majority of those surveyed also said they continue to use coupons and sign up for loyalty programs. In addition, a report by Grocery.bio revealed that digital shopping dropped in the past year, and omni-channel shopping continued to dominate more than half of all purchases surveyed. On the retailer side, the report said grocers plan to increase budgets for AI technology by as much as 37%. And one company overseas is banking big on tech for tofu. While the rest of the tofu industry struggles, Japanese company Yamami is reporting big profits for 2023. Shares have increased by 138% this past year due to big investments in automation. The company's newest factory is near Mount Fuji and can produce 15,000 units of tofu an hour, a rate that is several times higher than its competitors. It's an impressive performance despite soybean prices doubling in 2022 and a downward trend of Japanese consumers buying tofu since the year 2000. Everyone loves looking back on the past and reflecting on good memories, and this certainly extends to food. According to Symrise, about 70% of consumers over 65 and 76% of consumers ages 22 to 55 love to eat things that remind them of the past. But how do CPG companies capitalize on this desire? That's why we have Dhiya Choudary with us today. She's the creative director of Magic Spoon, a line of cereals and cereal products that aim to capture audiences with that nostalgic feeling while setting itself apart with its health benefits. Dhiya, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is a great pleasure to have you on. Let's get started. Okay, so let's talk Newstalgia, Magic Spoon and Newstalgia. You guys seem to do a great job of evoking that, but how does the company draw upon nostalgia to conceptualize its products? What's the importance of evoking nostalgia for Magic Spoon?
Yeah, I would say pretty important because our brand is very much built with that built in. And nostalgia is not really something that you can force and that comes up very often in conversations that we have around design and packaging and overall creative. You can't really force something that doesn't exist. You can't make people feel a certain way if they don't want to feel it, if they don't already feel it. So I think even with the product we pick, like cereal is something that people look back on with a lot of love or still have a lot of love for from their childhood. So that's very much a core thing that existed that we capitalized on, and we've got to continue to, look for products that already make people feel that way, or figure out. I guess then that brings us to the unique challenge of like, how do we make them feel a way? It's an interesting challenge for us, and I think that flows into packaging and creative conversations all the time.
Definitely. Let's talk creative process. What concepts, standards, what strategies does Magic Spoon hold important when developing new products or perfecting current lines?
Just going back to what's really important for us as a brand and as a product, the product innovation of it is really key. We have an incredible product team. All of our RTBs are super important, making sure we're high in protein, low in carb, low in sugar, keto-friendly, grain-free, all these incredible things that we offer. Those are going to be kind of the core principles of how we think about expanding our brand. We want to make sure that we're still staying true to those pieces. Yeah.
Dhiya, one thing that I really enjoyed when having an earlier chat with you is you were mentioning, of the many new paths that Magic Spoon was forging, you guys have really, learned a lot in the process of from going direct to consumer to experiencing what it's like selling to retailers. Can you talk to us about your experiences? Were there similarities or differences when it came to, design, packaging, supply chain? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak to the packaging aspect of it to begin with. We were designed for DTC initially, and we were lucky in how wonderfully it did and how well it was received. I think our customers have a lot of love for the characters on the box and just overall how it's designed. And when we launched in retail, we ran into some challenges that I think was interesting to learn along the way. Just critical things like how information is displayed, how people are absorbing information on shelves, making sure some very, very small things would be making sure that the RTBs are super, super legible in a way that we don't really have to worry about when we're selling direct to consumer, because they see a really, big picture of it on the PDP. Versus when they're seeing it on shelves, you want to make sure that the right information is popping out of them, and that it's very clear what the product is as well. With cereal, I think when we have a cereal box sitting on shelves next to all the childhood favorites, it's immediately obvious what this product is, and you just want to make sure that they know that it's high protein, low carb, etc. But with our newest product, treats, which we just launched, it was really fun going through all of that process of making sure that we're able to communicate what the product is really clearly, and that was challenging because the product itself is so unique and new. The idea of like a Rice Krispie treat product that is high in protein is kind of an idea to wrap your head around, and I think communicating that really clearly with the packaging was a really fun challenge, making sure we have a really big, product photography on the front, which we got away without doing on cereal. So starting to see like what works for cereal may not work for, other products, and also taking the things that do work with cereal and applying that to treats. There was definitely a lot to learn there. And I think it's all been really fun and interesting. And we're really big on iterating and adapting and learning. So it's we've already had a few rounds of iteration on design with past products and things like that. So it's nice to see us evolve along the way.
Let's talk about trends. From my experience, working at the Food Institute, one thing I know is that consumers seem to want everything. They want something that's good for them, but they want it to taste good. They want to feel indulgent, but they also are very health and wellness conscious. How does Magic Spoon, attempt to capture both, that playful, indulgent feeling, but still offering, the health benefits that you offer in your products?
Yeah. That's a really interesting thing that you brought up, and comes up a lot with messaging, particularly how do we communicate that we're really delicious and we taste decadent, but also we're better for you, because that seems almost like, an oxymoron. But That's where we do a lot of testing, and we talk to people a lot of different ways to just see what sticks, and what works for one group of people may not work for another group of people. And so it becomes really important for us to test a lot and throw a lot of different things at the wall. So with paid social particularly, we do a lot of that, where we just say things over and over again in different ways and see how that lands. And with visuals as well, we do that, where we go really decadent imagery sometimes, and then we go more on the go, showing you all the different ways it can be consumed. And then we have kind of a better for you type of messaging as well, where we talk about ingredients and what goes into it and what doesn't go into it as well.
Makes a lot of sense. And what piece of advice could you give, the best piece of advice you could think of, could you give to those who are watching out there, who are, also, hard at work developing their own products, that entrepreneur out there who's, trying to make it happen? What sort of guidance, best piece of guidance you could give from your experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to just throw your ego out the window. You can't really be precious about anything that you make. For creative specifically, I can speak to, and even for the product, I guess we iterate so much, and we're always learning and listening to the customer and making improvements, and even doing taste tests within the company and talking about how to make things better. And it very much the same for design and creative as well. I think agency side, you can perfect things a lot and get really precious and spend a lot of time on something, making it really, really, good before you put it out, versus we tend to put things out a lot quicker, which is really gratifying too, in a way, because you don't wait too long to see it out in the world. You get real-time feedback, especially with social media. You're getting such quick feedback on things that you make, and you have to kind of adapt for what you're hearing after you put it out. Yeah, it becomes important to listen and take the feedback and be flexible and not take it personal, and be ready to reevaluate how people are perceiving the brand is really, really critical too, and not just how we see it. It's definitely a combination of the two that becomes reality.
All right, Dhiya Choudary, Creative Director of Magic Spoon. Dhiya, thank you again for joining us. This was great.
Of course, this is really nice to do. Thank you.
A quick note, there will be no newscast on December 29th. We'll be back on January 5th with another great episode of the FI Newscast. And don't forget, you can check out all the great content that we've done by clicking on this playlist. I'm Susan Choi. Till next time, happy holidays.